Leader, L-E-A-D-E-R.
Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, I've been blasting through the world of Saints Row for a couple of days dressed as an American hot dog and moonlighting as a ninja come future soldier who has a penchant for silenced rifles, and it's reminded me just how much we're sorely lacking this genre on the Nintendo Switch. The open world action sandbox Void has finally got a game, and boy what a unique one it is. By the end of this review, you will know exactly how it performs on Nintendo Switch. Yes, it's old, like I think 2 generations, but is it gold? Let's find out. Contrary to appearances, there is a story here that begins like a heist movie of old. Well, with some modern twists. The Saints' plan would have put Ocean himself to shame as they quite literally steal an entire vault. Unfortunately, things do not go according to plan, and after the world's shortest helicopter ride, you soon realise you may have robbed the wrong person and find yourself and 2 of your most loyal companions screeching a mile up in the air aboard a private jet. The unsolicited guests of the head of the syndicate, who kindly offers you the choice between death or extortion. Sounds fair.
These visions are Viola and Kiki, and I am Philippe Laurent, chairman of a multinational organization called the Syndicate.
I won't spoil the choice you make, but things once again turn south in bombastic style, and as you find yourself launching towards terra firma, firing 2 Uzis from the hip, you can't help but remember why you play these types of games to begin with. It screams entertainment value, and while utterly ridiculous, it definitely delivers in that regard. Throughout the game, side missions and stories are available from your mobile device. Stripped straight from GTA, you simply call the relevant individual who will generally give you a location to go to. Some of my favourite characterization was delivered in the form of banter between yourselves and others just while simply driving from A to B. A highlight was when both characters spontaneously began singing, painfully badly, on your way to a mission.
Sing on key this time. Early in the morning, rise into the street.
It's both horrible and wonderful in equal measure, and perfectly defines the type of story experience you're gonna get from Saints Row the Third. Story scores 16 out of 20. First things first, there are no motion controls, which is really quite disappointing. Add to this that the default aiming is heavy. If you're familiar with PC gaming, you would have used something called VSync. What this does is it ties the frames to the refresh rate, eliminating screen tearing, but it would often make the controls in games less responsive as a result. It gave your inputs an almost delayed, weighty feeling, and that is exactly what it feels like by default on Switch. I was able to get used to this after a while, but it's definitely an issue in a game that focuses on precision aiming. I found that when raising the sensitivity to higher levels, you really lost any fine aiming ability, and you have to resort to the classic aim close with the right stick and then strafe to line up the shot with the left. It's workable, just, but unfortunate. One of the first orders of business is a vast character customization tool that would give more recent games a good run for their money. You can change every aspect, become the most freakish or wonderful being imaginable, and after you've spent far too long creating them or just spamming the randomize button until some monstrosity suitable to your tastes emerges Frankenstein monster style from the screen, you'll be ready to begin. When on foot, most aspects of a cover shooter are in there, bar, probably quite unfortunately, the ability to duck behind cover a la Gears of War, but there are more than enough other mechanics to compensate. You can crouch, sprint, shoot, and even take human shields, which was a nice touch. Walls can be vaulted over or higher ones sprinted up parkour style. In a nod to the Just Cause franchise, you can leap into the driver's seat of a vehicle or tackle pedestrians to the ground. Any car can be borrowed with the press of a button, and quite early on, the world becomes your playground. For those fans of gems such as Vice City, The ability to accrue wealth and gradually purchase buildings to increase your influence and income is here. Defeating a gang in placement will gain you some respect and also heat, which is shown down here. You can expect a serious welcome party from rival gangs at this stage. If you die though, you aren't really punished at all and are spat back out a short distance from where you fell, to learn the error of your ways and move on, or, well, take the path more travelled and die again.
Time to go. What the fuck is that thing? Something very...
When I initially played the game, it was way back on PC, and I just never really got into it at that time. It's nice to give it a proper go and realise I actually missed out on a lot. Firstly, in this age of loot boxes left, right and centre and incomplete packages, it's great to have such a fleshed out experience. You're given tons of content from the get-go in the form of weapons, vehicles, and different outfit customizations. Everything in the game can be customized, modded, and tweaked to perfection if you have the cash to do so. Find an old car you want to turn into the SwitchUp mobile, and whatever abhorrent creation you can dream up can be made reality.
Now it's our turn. Head to Planet Saints. Doesn't it?
Come on, it's a smart car. Likewise, the multitude of weaponry is open to performance modifications of a number of flavours. A walk-in tank you shall become, but just before you start taking yourself too seriously, you'll get a gun that shoots sharks, so no chance of that. Other distractions, and the game is full of those, include the Horde Mode, where you and a friend can take on several waves of enemies in a series of insane challenges, as well as taking on assassination contracts and an absolute multitude of unusual side activities. It is a game that takes away almost anything that could potentially hinder your fun. Fall into the ocean and you'll find a pop-up allowing you to fast travel to shore. Take a bullet to the head and you'll pop up quickly at the nearest hospital. Heck, you can even survive when your vehicle explodes or you're pulled out of the car by the cops. So, with all these potential avenues for channeled carnage, how did I spend the majority of my time so far with Saints Row the Third? I made an art form of blowing stuff up. There are tons of cheat codes, etc., but I never felt compelled to use them. I was quite content to cause carnage and enter the occasional game show, which was a mixture of Takeshi's Castle and the Running Man, or simply have a little punch up with a bunch of dudes carrying... ooh, yeah.
Piece of cake.
There are some real quality of life features here, including a GPS system in your car when you're driving around to set quick locations, and also an overview of the territory you currently hold and that held by your enemies. Any shops or buildings you uncover or purchase are also highlighted here. Gameplay for me is very fun. It scores 17 out of 20, and the controls, they score 14 out of 20. While it is very good fun, performance often affects the enjoyment, as we'll discuss in the next section. And I wish they'd allowed for motion controls, but I'm thinking the performance played a large part in their decision with that one. As an older title, I was expecting some silk in terms of frame rates. I think what I didn't account for are the number of CPU dependent things taking place in a game like this. There are times where it's smooth sailing and to my eyes has an uncapped frame rate to try and keep control over the camera as responsive as possible when it dips. When you lock a frame rate, it can cause some input lag. I definitely saw it climb in excess of 30 frames per second at times and also drop below 10 at others. It's just not quite there in terms of the way it runs just now, and it was more noticeable in docked than it was in handheld. It's still a fun time for sure, and you can see it doesn't massively hinder the game in terms of what you're able to do as a player, but from a gameplay and control standpoint, it affects many of its core elements. Gunplay is harder as a result. Driving is more difficult as vital scenery pops up and you'll struggle to judge turns with those frame rate fluctuations. Conversely, and quite strangely, I found that not only did handheld seem to look far crisper, I found performance better as well. I wonder if they just turned many effects down and you can't really tell because of the smaller screen. Regardless, as a predominantly handheld Switch player, I found it a really pleasant surprise. The graphics on the whole in terms of image quality are decent enough. Yep, there's a good deal of anti-aliasing in the form of jaggy edges, but the sheer amount of effort put into customization makes up for it to some degree. Audio is a mixed bag.
That's what happens when you fight a saint.
I do believe there is currently a bug with some weapon sounds not playing correctly, and I'm sure that that's going to be fixed early with a patch. Explosions and most gun sounds are on point, however, and little touches like the changing clip sounds as you reach the end of one of your magazines are welcome. Voice acting is fitting, over the top, and generally quite good, and it's nice to be able to choose the main character's voice. The humour may not be to everyone's taste, and there are references to pop culture all over the place, even down to the cheeky little inclusion of the eBay sound early on. Radio stations in cars can be changed as you'd expect, and the sounds of pedestrians as you meet them are suitably fitting. Visuals and audio score a combined 13 out of 20. It scores points for me for the sheer amount of customizable items in the world and the hammy, ridiculous, but thoroughly character building dialogue. The performance just dragged the rest down. The game costs £31.49, $35.99 or €35.99. And let's be honest, it's a tough one, isn't it? Yes, you can find it far cheaper on other platforms right now, but when it was launched, it was much more expensive on those as well. You get everything here, an absolutely massive sandbox in terms of quantity of activities, and all can be done online with a friend in co-op. The inevitable GTA 5 Switch release, come on guys, you've finished Red Dead Redemption now, let's have some Switch love, will surely cost around this price. Still, for overall value, you're getting a worse performing version than almost any other platform at a slightly higher price. That is a difficult sell right there. One of the benefits of being the only game of its type on Switch, I guess, supply and demand. Still, as I mentioned, there is just so much to do in this game. I give value 15 out of 20 for sheer quantity on offer. You can spend 100 hours here easily. Having a physical release on Switch also means you're quite likely to find it at a lower price soon, if not already. Saints Row the Third on Switch is as fun as ever, bar some annoying performance drops. Portability is absolutely wonderful though, and if you're like me and pass this one up first time, it's certainly going to hit the GTA spot. If you're a performance junkie and don't need the portability, then pick it up elsewhere. It scores a SwitchUp score of 75%. If they can patch the performance, then this would definitely be in the 80s, but as it stands, it has too much of an effect on the gameplay. Still a fun game though, and like I say, if you can find it for cheaper, then it's worth it. Thank you so much to our Patreons, to all of you who comment on the channel. It's been really nice building that little Discord channel as well. If you've not joined it, then hit the link below and join us over there. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!